stop everything you are doing right now, because what is going down between Remy Ma and Papoose at this very moment is not a breakup, it is not a separation, it is not even a divorce anymore, it is a full-blown financial demolition, and the wrecking ball is being swung at a house where a little girl still sleeps at night. Family, I have been covering celebrity breakups for a long time, and I am telling you right now, I have never, and I mean never, seen a situation flip this dark, this fast, with this much money, this much pride, and this much alleged betrayal stacked on top of each other. We are talking liens on the family home. We are talking lawyers, letters, and silence orders. We are talking a new woman allegedly standing close enough to the fire to feel the heat, and a daughter caught dead center in the crossfire. So before you even think about clicking away, hear me, by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why people are saying this is no longer about love at all. This is about leverage. And the details I am about to walk you through are going to have you questioning everything you thought you knew about one of hip-hop's most celebrated love stories. Now if this is your first time pulling up to the channel, go ahead and get comfortable. Hit that like button, share this video with somebody who needs to see it, and subscribe so you never miss a drop. And to my day ones, my twos, my threes, my fours, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate every single one of you more than you know. Quick reminder before we dive in, everything we discuss here is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Some of this is alleged, some of it is documented, and the fair use notice is sitting in the description box for anybody who needs it. Alright. Let's get into it, because this one is heavy. To really understand how explosive this moment is, you have to remember who Remy Ma and Papoose were to the culture. This was not just a couple. This was a monument. When Remy Ma got locked up back in 2008, right on the eve of their wedding, Papoose did something that most men would never even consider. He married her over the phone, with her behind bars, and then he held her down for 6 long years. 6 years of visits. 6 years of letters. 6 years of standing in front of cameras telling the world that his wife was coming home and that their love was going to outlast the system that took her. And when Remy Ma finally walked out of that facility in 2014, Papoose was standing right there. The culture crowned them. They became the gold standard for ride-or-die love in hip-hop. They went on television and renewed their vows. They sat on couches and told everybody watching that black love was real, that it could survive anything, that loyalty was not a word you just throw around in a song. And then came the baby. The golden child. Little Reminisce Mackenzie, born in December of 2018, and if you followed either one of them on social media, you saw that little girl wrapped in more love than most kids get in a lifetime. Papoose was writing raps about her before she could walk. Remy Ma was calling her the greatest thing she ever made. For years, this family looked untouchable. And that right there is exactly why this story is breaking the internet the way it is. Because when a regular couple falls apart, people scroll past it. But when the couple that sold the world on forever starts dismantling each other in legal filings, people cannot look away. The higher the pedestal, the louder the crash. And family, this crash is deafening. Now let me back up a little bit so everything makes sense, because the cracks did not start this week. They did not even start this year. If you have been paying attention, the first real fracture that the public got to see goes back to the battle rap scene. Remy Ma, who built her name on bars before she ever built it on reality television, stayed close to that world. And in that world, she crossed paths with a battle rapper named Easy the Block Captain. At first, it looked like mentorship. Then it looked like friendship. Then, toward the end of 2023, there was a battle event where the energy between Remy Ma and Easy the Block Captain had the whole room talking, and within days, the whole internet was talking too. Photos. Videos. Body language breakdowns. Lip readers on social media acting like they had law degrees. And through all of that noise, Papoose stayed quiet. No angry posts. No interviews. No diss tracks with subliminals. Just silence. At the time, a lot of people praised him for that. They said he was taking the high road. They said he was protecting his family, protecting his daughter, protecting the brand. But looking back now, with everything that has come out since, a lot of folks are starting to wonder if that silence was not dignity at all. A lot of folks are starting to wonder if that silence was strategy. Because here is what happened next. While the blogs were busy connecting Remy Ma to Easy the Block Captain, Papoose started showing up in a whole different arena, literally. He started appearing at boxing events. Sitting ringside. And the woman he was sitting next to was not a business associate. It was Claressa Shields. Now if you do not know who Claressa Shields is, let me put some respect on her name real quick. Claressa Shields is not just a boxer. Claressa Shields is arguably the greatest female fighter of her generation. Multiple Olympic gold medals. Undisputed championships in multiple weight classes. A woman who has been calling herself the GWAT, the greatest woman of all time, and backing it up every single time she steps into the ring. Claressa Shields is from Flint, Michigan. She came from absolutely nothing, and she fought her way, literally, to the top of a sport that did not want to give women anything. So when Papoose started showing up next to Claressa Shields, and Claressa Shields started showing up next to Papoose, the internet did what the internet does. And for months, both of them played it smooth. They called it friendship. They called it business. Papoose was allegedly helping with her brand, her promotion, her media presence. And maybe some of that was true. But family, by 2025, the pictures were not of two people talking business anymore. The body language was not business. And then came the moment that turned all the whispers into sirens. Papoose filed for divorce from Remy Ma. And I want to be fair here, because at the very beginning, it looked like this might actually be the rare celebrity split that stayed grown. There were statements about respect. There were statements about co-parenting. Papoose himself put out words suggesting there was no bitterness, no drama, that they were simply two people going in different directions, and that their daughter remained the priority. Remy Ma, for her part, kept it mostly classy in public. And I remember thinking, okay, maybe these two are really about to show people how to end a marriage with dignity. Maybe the ride-or-die couple was going to be the ride-or-die exes. But family, that version of this story did not survive the summer. Because behind the scenes, according to the reports and the court whispers that have been pouring out ever since, this divorce stopped being about two people growing apart and started being about something else entirely. Money. Control. And who gets to walk away with what? Now, before I tell you what Papoose is allegedly demanding, and when you hear it, your jaw is going to be on the floor, I need you to understand something about how divorces work when there is real money on the table, because that context is everything. Hold that thought, because we are coming right back to it, and what Papoose is accused of doing with that house is the part that has people calling him names I cannot even repeat on this platform. So here is the part that turned this from a sad story into a scandal. Word on the street, and multiple outlets have been circling this same reporting, is that Papoose is not simply asking for a fair split of what they built together. The word is that Papoose wants half. Half of everything. Half of what Remy Ma owns. And before anybody jumps in the comments talking about, well, that's how divorce works, let me explain why people are reacting the way they are, because context matters. Remy Ma and Papoose were both artists when they met, but they were not on equal footing, and everybody in the culture knows it. When they got together, Remy Ma was the one with the major label deal. Remy Ma was the one with the hit record. Remy Ma was the one whose name carried weight outside of New York mixtape circles. Papoose was respected, absolutely, lyrically the man has always been respected, but commercially, financially, in terms of assets and earning power, the culture has always understood that Remy Ma was the engine of that household. She went to prison as the bigger star, she came home as the bigger star, she got on one of the biggest reality franchises on television, she built businesses, she became the face of the family brand. And now, on the back end of the marriage, the man who once held her down is allegedly holding out his hand for half of the empire she carried. That is the framing that has the streets in an uproar. Fair or unfair, that is the framing. But that is not even the part that made my jaw hit the floor. Because along with the demand for half comes something much colder. According to the reports floating around, Remy Ma was served with what amounts to a legal muzzle, a cease and desist style letter telling her, essentially, that she cannot speak publicly about Papoose. And not just about Papoose. Allegedly, she cannot speak about Claressa Shields either. Read that again. The man files for divorce, moves publicly with a new woman, and then, if these reports are accurate, sends paperwork telling the mother of his child that her voice, about her own life, her own marriage, her own story, is now a legal liability. Now, let me be balanced, because I always try to be balanced. There are legitimate reasons people seek gag-style orders in divorces. Lawyers will tell you it protects children, it protects reputations, it keeps court cases from being tried on social media. That is the charitable reading. But family, you already know what the other reading is. The other reading is that one side of this divorce gets to move in public freely, ringside seats, photos, interviews, red carpets, while the other side gets a letter from a law firm. And when you stack that on top of the demand for half, the picture that a whole lot of people are seeing is not a man protecting his privacy. The picture they are seeing is a man protecting his position. And then came the house. Oh, the house. This is the detail that took this story from messy celebrity divorce to what is wrong with people. Because the word on the street now is that a lien has allegedly been placed on the home connected to Remy Ma, the home where their daughter lives. Now let me explain what a lien actually does, in plain language, because some people hear that word and keep scrolling. A lien is a legal claim against a property. It means that house cannot be cleanly sold, refinanced, or transferred until the claim is satisfied. It is a financial freeze ray pointed at a front door. And if these reports are true, the message embedded in that move is brutal in its simplicity: sell the house and give me my half, or sit in a property you cannot move. Either way, pay me. And here is why this specific move has people using words like pitiful and worse, because there is a child in that equation. A 7-year-old little girl. The golden child. The baby they both built brands around. The little girl who has been the face of their family love since the day she was born. A lien does not care about any of that. A lien does not care where a child sleeps, whether a child feels stable, whether a little girl gets to keep her room, her school, her routine. A lien cares about one thing: leverage. And that is why so many people are looking at this alleged move and saying this stopped being about a man getting what he is owed. Because a man getting what he is owed does not need to put pressure on the roof over his own daughter's head to get it. Now, and this is where the story takes a turn that honestly made me stop and reread everything twice, a growing chorus of people following this case are saying they do not even believe this is about Papoose anymore. And I need you to sit with that, because it reframes the entire war. The theory going around, and it is gaining steam every single day, is that Papoose is doing what Claressa Shields wants him to do. Think about the pattern. Think about the timing. The escalation in this divorce, the aggressive money demands, the silence orders, the alleged lien, all of it reportedly intensified after the relationship with Claressa Shields went from rumor to reality. And then there is the other piece of this that people cannot stop talking about, which is Claressa Shields herself and how she has allegedly been moving in this situation. There have been claims floating around that Claressa Shields has been less than respectful toward the daughter, toward Reminisce, and if even a fraction of that is true, then we are no longer talking about a girlfriend caught in the crossfire of somebody else's divorce. We are talking about a grown woman allegedly letting disrespect slide toward a child, and a father allegedly standing next to it and letting it happen. Now, I want to be careful here, because children should never be props in adult warfare, and I am not going to sit here and pretend I was in the room for any of it. But I am going to say what the streets are saying, and the streets are saying that a man who lets anybody, a girlfriend, a wife, a stranger, anybody, disrespect his daughter has told you everything you need to know about where his priorities are. And when that man is Papoose, the same Papoose who once wrote an entire song for that little girl before she could even say her own name, the whiplash is unreal. The same pen that wrote the Golden Child anthem is now signing off on legal documents that put that child's home in play. Let that sink in. And I have to go deeper on Claressa Shields for a moment, because her role in this story is one of the most fascinating and most debated pieces of the whole puzzle. On one side, you have people saying Claressa Shields is a grown woman who fell for a man who was already separated, that she owes Remy Ma nothing, that women do not owe each other custody of a man's choices. And there is a real argument in there. Claressa Shields did not take vows with Remy Ma. Papoose did. But on the other side, and family, this side is loud, you have people saying that the way you enter a situation matters, that inserting yourself into the middle of an active divorce involving a child, allegedly influencing how that divorce is fought, allegedly being present while a child is disrespected, is not minding your business. That is participation. And then there is the question nobody can stop asking: why would a champion, a self-made legend, a woman who clawed her way out of Flint with nothing but her fists and her will, look at a man in the middle of a war with his wife and say, yes, I want to be part of that? Some people say it is love and love is messy. Some people say it is something much more calculated. And some people say the answer does not even matter, because the damage is being done either way. But here is the bigger question this whole situation cracks open, and it is the one I really want you to chew on, because this goes way beyond Remy Ma and Papoose. Why do people stay in relationships where they will put up with absolutely anything, disrespect, humiliation, their children being pushed to the margins, as long as there is some kind of gain attached to it? Because family, if we are being honest, this story is extreme, but it is not rare. How many people do you know who are still in a situation that is eating them alive because the rent gets paid? How many people bite their tongue while their partner moves funny because leaving would mean losing the lifestyle, the status, the access, the image? What we might be watching with Remy Ma and Papoose is just the celebrity-sized version of something that happens in ordinary living rooms every single day. One person decides the relationship is an asset, and the other person finds out the hard way that they were never a partner, they were a portfolio. And when love turns into accounting, somebody always ends up paying. Usually, it is the person with the most to lose. And in this story, the person with the most to lose is named Remy Ma. Now, let me be absolutely clear about something, because I know how these conversations go. I am not here to tell you that Remy Ma is perfect. Remy Ma is a grown woman with her own history, her own choices, her own moments in this saga that people have questioned, including how the Easy the Block Captain chapter looked from the outside. Marriage is a two-person failure most of the time, and I was not in that house. But there is a difference between both people made mistakes and what is allegedly on the table right now. There is a difference between a divorce and a demolition. And from where I am sitting, watching a man demand half of everything, watching letters go out telling a woman she cannot speak his name or his girlfriend's name, watching a lien reportedly land on the home where his own daughter lays her head, family, I do not know how you look at that sequence and see fairness. I do not know how you look at that sequence and see a father protecting his child. What I see, and what a whole lot of the culture sees, is leverage stacked on leverage, aimed at a woman who spent 6 years being held down and is now being held up. And can we talk about the daughter for one more minute, because she is the one person in this entire story who asked for none of it. Reminisce Mackenzie did not choose the fame. She did not choose the divorce. She did not choose the blogs, the lien, the lawyers, the new woman in her father's orbit, any of it. She is 7 years old. 7. And every single adult in this situation, every single one, has a responsibility that starts and ends with her. So when people hear that a father is allegedly comfortable letting the roof over his daughter's head become a bargaining chip, they are not reacting to gossip. They are reacting to a principle. You do not gamble with your child's stability to win a negotiation. You just do not. And if the reports about disrespect toward that little girl are even partly true, then the question shifts from, why is Papoose doing this, to, who is Papoose becoming, and that is a much scarier question. Now here is where it gets even crazier, because the legal side of this is far from finished, and the next moves matter more than everything that has happened so far. If the lien reporting holds up, Remy Ma's legal team has options. She can challenge it, she can negotiate around it, or she can do what a lot of people in her position end up doing, which is settling just to stop the bleeding. And that right there is the trap that leverage is designed to build. You make the fight so expensive, so exhausting, so public, that the other side pays not because you are right, but because peace becomes cheaper than justice. Lawyers have a phrase for the strategy, and I am not going to pretend it is rare, but most people deploying it do not have a 7-year-old standing in the blast radius. Meanwhile, you better believe Remy Ma's side is watching every public move Papoose makes. Every ringside appearance, every photo, every interview where a certain boxer's name comes up, all of that becomes material in the court of public opinion, and some of it can become material in an actual court, especially when custody and a child's well-being are anywhere near the conversation. And let's talk about the court of public opinion for a second, because in celebrity divorces, that court sometimes matters more than the legal one. Remy Ma has something in this fight that money cannot file a lien against, and that is narrative. For 20 years, the public has watched Remy Ma survive things that would have ended most careers and most spirits. The industry turned its back on her. The system took 6 years of her life. And she came home, rebuilt everything, became a television star, a businesswoman, a mother, a symbol. The public loves a comeback, but the public protects a survivor. And the optics of this moment, a survivor being financially squeezed by the man she once called her rock, while he moves publicly with a champion boxer, those optics are a 5-alarm fire for Papoose, whether his lawyers want to admit it or not. Because hip-hop does not forget. The same culture that crowned him for loyalty is fully capable of dethroning him for the appearance of greed. And appearances are all the public ever really gets. So where does this go from here? Honestly, family, I think we are still in the early rounds of this fight, and I do not use that word by accident, because there is a boxer in this story now. Round 1 was the separation. Round 2 was the filing. Round 3 was the money demands and the letters and the alleged lien. And the rounds to come, custody questions, property fights, potential testimony, potential receipts from both sides, those are the championship rounds, and those are the ones that decide legacies. Because here is the truth about wars like this, nobody actually wins them. The money gets split or it does not, the house gets sold or it does not, and 10 years from now, the only thing that will really matter is how a little girl remembers the way the adults in her life behaved when everything fell apart. Did her father protect her home, or did he leverage it? Did her mother keep her dignity, or did the war strip it away? Did the grown-ups act grown? That is the scoreboard that matters, and it is the one nobody can rig. And let me paint the full picture of what this marriage actually was as a brand, because that is the piece people keep skipping over, and it matters for understanding the money fight. Remy Ma and Papoose did not just have a relationship, they had an enterprise built on top of that relationship. The reality television runs. The vow renewal that was literally televised for the world. The holiday specials. The joint interviews where they finished each other's sentences and sold black love like it was a product on a shelf, and I do not say that to be disrespectful, I say it because it was true, and it worked. The Meet the Mackies era made them more than rappers, it made them a symbol. And here is the thing about symbols, when a symbol cracks, everybody who invested emotion in it feels personally robbed. That is why the comment sections under every blog post about this divorce read like group therapy. People are not just reacting to Remy Ma and Papoose. People are reacting to the death of something they used as proof that their own love could make it. That is an emotional debt, and it is part of why the rage toward Papoose right now is so disproportionate to a normal divorce. The culture feels like it is being sued too. Now let's talk about the money for real, because half of everything sounds abstract until you start counting what everything actually means. Remy Ma did not just rap after prison. Remy Ma became a businessman. She launched Chrome 23, her own battle rap platform built to put women in the culture front and center, a league, a brand, an event series, something she owns. She has television checks that have been rolling for years. She has endorsement history, appearance fees, catalog value, real estate, and a name that books rooms to this day. Every single one of those streams was built or rebuilt after she came home in 2014, during the marriage, which is exactly why this fight is so nasty, because marital assets are marital assets, and the law in a lot of places does not care whose name was bigger on the flyer. That is the legal reality Papoose's side is almost certainly standing on. And I told you I would be balanced, so here is the balance. If the roles were reversed, if Papoose had been the bigger earner and Remy Ma was filing for half, there would be a whole contingent of people calling it empowerment. I am not going to pretend that double standard does not exist. But, and this is a huge but, the reason this case hits different is not the percentage. It is the posture. It is the alleged lien. It is the letters. It is the difference between standing in court and saying, here is what I believe the law entitles me to, and standing on someone's chest and saying, pay me or else. One of those is a legal claim. The other one is a shakedown, at least in the court of public opinion. And the streets have already decided which one they think they are watching. And can we go back to the silence for a second, because Papoose's silent strategy deserves its own paragraph. For nearly 2 years, while the internet dragged his name through every comment section in America, Papoose said almost nothing. No rants. No tell-alls. No messy subliminals. And I remember people calling that king behavior. He's protecting his peace. He's protecting his daughter. Real men move in silence. That was the narrative. But now, watching how this divorce is allegedly being fought, a lot of people are going back and rereading that silence like detectives rereading a witness statement. Because there are two kinds of silence. There is the silence of a man who has nothing to prove. And then there is the silence of a man who is waiting. Waiting for the right lawyer. Waiting for the right filing date. Waiting for the moment when the leverage is stacked high enough that he never has to raise his voice at all, because the paperwork does all the talking. I am not telling you which silence I think this was. I am telling you that the streets have a theory, and the theory is that we were not watching peace. We were watching patience. And those are two very different things. Here is another layer that has people talking, and it is the Claressa Shields question taken to its logical end. Let's game this out. If the theory is true, if Papoose is doing what Claressa Shields wants him to do, then what does Claressa Shields actually gain? Think about it. A man fresh out of a long marriage, with a brand new public relationship, fighting a war that keeps both of their names in the blogs every single week. In the attention economy, controversy is currency. Fighters know this better than anybody. Half of boxing promotion is manufactured beef, and that is not an insult, that is just the sport. So when people look at this situation and say, this feels choreographed, they are not coming out of nowhere. They are applying the logic of the world Claressa Shields comes from to the divorce Papoose is fighting. Now, is that fair to Claressa Shields? Maybe not. Claressa Shields has a real legacy, real belts, real history, and reducing her to a puppeteer in somebody else's divorce is its own kind of disrespect. But the public does not do nuance. The public does patterns. And the pattern, escalation after the relationship went public, is sitting right there for everybody to see. And while we are on the subject of patterns, let's talk about the pattern that should bother everybody the most, which is the pattern of the child being moved from the center of the story to the edge of it. Go back and look at how Reminisce Mackenzie was presented for the first 6 years of her life. She was the golden child, literally, that was the name they gave her, the brand they built around her. Papoose's whole public identity got rewritten around that little girl. He went from lyrical assassin from Brooklyn to hip-hop's favorite father. And that second identity was worth real money, book deals, television, endorsements, speaking, all of it flows easier when the world sees you as a family man. So here is the uncomfortable question that nobody in this story wants to answer out loud: was the fatherhood a foundation, or was it a feature? Because foundations do not move. You cannot put a lien on a foundation. But a feature? A feature can be renegotiated. A feature can be leveraged. And if the reports are accurate, that is exactly what is happening to the most sacred part of this family's brand. The golden child has been turned into a line item, and whether you love Papoose or cannot stand him, that should make your stomach turn. Let me also address the other side one more time, because I know Papoose has defenders, and some of their arguments deserve air. The defenders say, Papoose gave Remy Ma 6 years of his prime. 6 years of prison visits, of holding down a household alone, of keeping her name alive in the streets while she could not record, could not tour, could not earn. And they are not wrong about the sacrifice. That was real. That was documented. The man stood in the gap. And their argument is that 6 years of loyalty plus 18 years of marriage earns a man a seat at the table when the assets get divided. I hear that. I genuinely do. But notice what the argument concedes: it frames the marriage as an invoice. Hours logged, years served, payment due. And the moment you accept that framing, you have already lost the thing that made Remy Ma and Papoose matter in the first place, because the whole myth, the whole brand, the whole televised love story, was built on the claim that what they had could not be measured. You do not get to sell the world "our love is priceless" for 18 years and then hand the world a price tag when it ends. That is the hypocrisy at the center of this storm, and it is why even people who think Papoose deserves something are flinching at how he is allegedly going about getting it. And one more thing before we get to where this all goes from here, I want to talk directly to the people watching who are not celebrities, because this story is a mirror whether we want it to be or not. Every single element of this saga exists in regular life at a smaller scale. The partner who stays for the benefits. The new relationship that shows up before the old one is legally cold. The house that becomes a weapon instead of a home. The child who learns what love costs by watching what adults will do for money. If this story made you uncomfortable, sit with that, because discomfort is information. Ask yourself what you would tolerate for security. Ask yourself what you would demand if the person you built with walked away. Ask yourself whether the people around your children are there for your children or there for you. These are not celebrity questions. These are kitchen table questions wearing celebrity clothes. And that, more than the LIEN, more than the letters, more than the boxing rings and the blogs, is why millions of people cannot stop watching this unfold. It is not their marriage. But somewhere in it, it is their life. And because I know some of y'all are already typing, "Why are we even surprised?" let me say this plainly: because it needs to be said, the reason this story is dominating every timeline is not just the money, and it is not just the house, and it is not even the little girl, as much as she matters. It is the timeline itself. Think about what the public watched in order. First, a queen goes away and a king holds the throne. Then the queen comes home and they build a kingdom together, on camera, in front of all of us. Then the cracks show, and the king says nothing. Then a new queen appears, a champion from a whole different arena, and suddenly the silence ends, not with words, but with filings, letters, and allegedly a lien on the roof over his own child's head. That is not a breakup arc. That is a heist movie told in reverse, where we watched the getaway first and are only now seeing the planning. And the public can feel that in their bones, even the people who cannot articulate it. That is why word on the street hit so hard this week, because the street has been watching this entire time, and the street remembers everything. So let me ask you the questions that I believe this case is really about, stripped of all the celebrity shine. Number 1, when does standing on business become standing on your own family? Number 2, when a new partner enters a war that was never theirs, do they inherit the enemy, and should they? Number 3, what do we owe the children who got branded before they could consent, the golden children, the cute family channels, the matching pajama sponsorships, when the brand breaks? And number 4, the one I keep coming back to, is there any dollar figure that justifies a 7-year-old losing her sense of home? I am genuinely asking, because your answers in the comments are going to tell me more about where the culture is right now than any court filing ever could. Now, I told you at the very beginning of this video that by the end, you would understand why people are saying this is no longer about love, that it is about leverage. And now you have the whole picture. The demands for half of everything. The letters allegedly telling a woman she cannot speak about her own life. The lien reportedly sitting on the home where a child sleeps. The new relationship casting a shadow over every move. And a 7-year-old girl in the middle of all of it, watching the two people she loves most turn a love story into a ledger. Something is definitely brewing in this situation, and I do not think any of us knows what the endgame is yet. But I know this much, the higher the pedestal, the louder the crash, and this crash is still echoing. So now I need to hear from you, because you know this community does not hold back. Do you think Papoose is entitled to half of everything Remy Ma built, or do you think this has crossed the line from divorce into destruction? Do you believe Claressa Shields is influencing how this fight is being fought, or is she catching blame that belongs to a man making his own choices? And the big one, if the reports about the daughter being disrespected are true, is there any coming back from that for Papoose, in the culture's eyes? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because I read them all, and I already know this comment section is about to be a war zone. If this video gave you the full picture, do me a favor and hit that like button, share it with somebody who has been following this story, and subscribe if you have not already, because I promise you, this case is not over, and when the next filing drops, when the next receipt surfaces, when the next chapter of this war gets written, I am going to be right here breaking it down for you first. Thank you so much for rocking with me all the way to the end. That's all I have for you right now, and until the next one, keep your eyes open and your circle tight. I'll talk to you later.